So, before I've described, should have described three different methodologies: self inquiry, dreaming, meditation. These three were my ways to experiment with the world in order to arrive at certain solutions. Um, so, in the end, as I learned all these different things, and then I read a lot of books, I talked to a lot of people. My head got really big with a lot of information. Um, I needed a way to simplify all this. And I came up with a formulation. It's very simple as to what it is that I'm trying to teach you. Now, the whole thing should be considered as a containable infinity, meaning to say that it's just a unit. It's like the number one. Now, this thing decays over time, but it doesn't really reach its onehood until a certain age. So I studied a lot of biology. And as far as I could tell, we matured around, I want to say 25 to 30. Some range in there is when our brains fully develop and our body's fully developed. It's like it's decided finally what it's going to be. Up until then, it's kind of like it's got a predestined course, but it lets the environment kind of shape it in a way as it tries to grow through the environment, just like a flower coming out of the ground would. That's what a person's self, or everything that's going on inside of your head is. From the moment you're born into ignorance, you don't know shit. And as you learn and grow through life, things happen. If you're not looking at anything else and you're just looking at things that are happening to other people, eventually you arrive at a point where you can just say, well, there are just three things contained in one. There is what everybody else calls mind. It comes in many different ways, but, consciousness, mind. There is what everybody calls body, in biology. In a biological system, we would be considered an organism that has evolved. Other systems have different interpretations. But there's body and there's mind, right? There's these two things. So what would the third thing be? Well, technically, it's the one interacting with the world around it. But this can actually be encapsulated into a single infinity, three. So my formulation works backwards because it's based off of memory. It isn't a prediction, it's a hindsight. I'm Captain Hindsight over here. And I use hindsight to figure out what's going on in my world. That's how Captain Hindsight does it. So, there's three, which is the world and its interactions with me, or me and my interactions with the world, through these five senses and this body. And then, other people have their own bodies, so they're all like one. They're infinitesimals contained in a unit that progress and decay over time. So, from three, you're going to have to understand two, which is the nature of consciousness. This is where when we start to do the recollections. We start remembering. Once you've finished your recollections, your mind actually starts to settle of its own accord over a period of time. And all of a sudden it starts to get real quiet and real quiet and real quiet. This quieting of the mind will then allow everything that was there to become embedded into your body through your daily interactions with the world. So what you learned, by the time you either done any one of those techniques or all three of those techniques, at the end of it, that's definitely going to occur. It's going to feel awesome. Like, those people really read a lot of books. Depending on the books, scientific ones will ground you in reality. Books of fiction will cause psychedelic playgrounds to occur between your ability to have hindsight and then express it in the world, either through writing, art, or drawing, or anything like that. I remember one great example that I got from it was Musashi Miyamoto. Oh, no, not Musashi Miyamoto. Who's the founder of Aikido? Morihei Ueshiba. Morihei Ueshiba. This man was a swordsman. One day, he decided to meditate. Who the fuck knows why he did? Maybe it was cultural. Maybe it was personal. Who knows? He decided to meditate after he trained for a long time in swordsmanship. He experienced Kensho Satori. From the sounds of it, he might have experienced a great forgetting, so he figured out how to do a factory reset on the system. That's pretty cool, I've done that. And then afterwards, in the midst of his forgetting, his art, everything he learned before, all his Captain Hindsight shit, it started flowing out of his body. Which is to say, he was operating on pure instinct alone. There was no longer the need for something to be there, and the instinct itself was alive. So at first, if it was like mine, he's gonna go through stuff and he's gotta like figure out what language is all over again, and you know, he's gotta figure out that there actually was a kata to begin with. He doesn't know that. You swing a sword at him, he'll block it. Beyond that, he doesn't know why he blocked it, how he blocked it. He just did it out of instinct. So with me, and you could ask me questions and I'd give you answers. But I wouldn't know how I was doing that. You know? And it's like you forget who you were before. All that training, all that thing that built it's in your head, it just builds down the other way. And it's forgotten for a time. It comes back up eventually. Mine just came back out recently. It comes back out eventually. But from there to here, it's like all of a sudden, you used to be, like if you ever heard the Tenox herding pictures? In the Tenox herding pictures, there is the herder, or consciousness. Wait, no. The ox represents consciousness in that picture. For my sake, we're going to switch this around and use it my way. So the herder actually represents consciousness, and the ox represents the body. So in this instance, so when you read the Tanakh, read it their way. In this instance, you can read it this way. The boy, or the mind, by picture 3, he starts to see the ox. But by picture 4, 5, or 6, or I think it's 4, 5, or 6, right there he starts to make a transition from here. As it gets quieter and quieter, it's making its transition into what you do. You're getting better. What you'll notice, in real life, you'll notice you're just getting better at everything you do. You're less distracted. You're capable of foreseeing certain events before they occur. Kind of like a deja vu, but not really. It's just these things can only occur so many times in reality before you start to see patterns arise. So at that point, you know, you're about to get on the ox. The point when they show when you're on the ox and you're looking the other way, that means you're not there. But in my formulation, you're there. It's just coming out as an ox. Because you're looking the other way. You know? So then, you know, the Tanakh progresses to the point where the ox carries the herder home. And then neither the herder or the ox exists. There is just nothing as it is. That picture. You know? Because it doesn't just represent a boy sitting there in repose. It also represents the, you know, that boy got a house. Who knows? Maybe there's a family inside the house. Maybe there's not. You know. Doesn't look like he acquired much in his life. He's got a fence, some property, a rock, maybe several rocks. Depending on the pictures, you know, there might be other things. That signifies that you don't really have to achieve much in life to get here. It's really just being Captain Hindsight, so good at remembering, you know, all your interactions in life, how they've come to shape you, how they've come to make you you. You know, that's all it is. The other techniques are to help you gather up certain skills that you would have to acquire in other ways in order to be able to do this. So, people who are more inclined for like mental activities are going to have an easier time with mind, a harder time with the body. People who are inclined to bodily techniques are going to have an easier time with bodily techniques, a harder time with mental activities. But certain techniques can supersede all of them, like meditation, dreaming, self-inquiry, and just incorporate the whole thing as a whole. And, you know, you can just apply that technique, and then you go into daily life and you apply the second technique where you're paying attention to what's going on. You're noticing how it's affecting you, how it's affecting others. You know, oh shit, there's a bird. Maybe you follow it. And you get to learn that birds have nests. And the reason they're out here picking up our shit is because they need to feed their chickens. Their little chicks. You know, shit like that. You know, you start looking around and life looks a little different after that. And you start going, but that's for another video. This video is just about 3, 2, 1, and you know, most would put a 0 after that, you know, because that's dissolution. But in my opinion, there's a bingo there. You know, there is a bingo there. I've heard it said. You could kind of see it like climbing a mountain, and at every point there's nada, 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 nada. That happens if you expect something from this practice that won't then involve what you've already noticed in real life is what is necessary to get anywhere. Because that should be apparent. So, yeah, if you're expecting something, you get nada, 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 nada. But if you were actually trying to do is become a better person, improve yourself, maybe, you know, get out of depression or this or that, you know, whatever it is. You know, you're just trying to live a better life, man, nice, peaceful. Well, you don't just get nada on your way up. You get memories on your way up. This is when you start to treasure those moments when you're with the people you're with. You start to realize, hey, because like, okay, at first you meditate, you do your meditation. You know, you can shortcut this shit if you were like me. I'm going to have to get a job and I'm going to make a living. That's 8 hours of my day, 5 days a week, right? So I can spend that time meditating. Or I can apply a dreaming technique. Because I'm a medical laboratory technician, I have to do a lot of thinking. So I have to switch between the two. I do a lot of mental activities up until there's tension in the body. Once there's tension in the body, I drop back down into the body. Relax, relax, relax. And then I come back in. I'm doing my calculations, making my mixtures, my reagents. You know, I'm checking my analyzers. I'm up here in mental activities. Then when I'm starting to relax, or when I need to relax, I drop back down into the body. You don't need much, 30 seconds here, a minute there. You know, micro hits, real quick. Smoke it. I really enjoy that moment where you just. It's nice when the job gives you breaks, like 10-minute breaks every 3-4 hours or some shit, because then you know you can take you get to take less micro hits and get the whole thing done more productively, and then you just take a break. And it's like 15 minutes or 10 minutes or some shit. Because at first it's meditation. Afterwards, meditation isn't actually meditation. I mean, it is for some people. They love to show Carlos Castaneda would say two kind of peoples that end up here. There's the willpower ones and the power ones. Power ones are just workers. They're out here. They're doing the thing all the time. Willpower ones are the ones who, even after they've reached this stage, they still do the sitting, the meditation, or they do the dreaming. And they do that because other people need it, and so they have to keep doing it. And that's the only reason they're really doing it. It's just because other people need to be seen doing it, for other people to accept that doing it is what will get them there. And since it the whole thing works off contact and images. You can see why that's important, that they keep it. But for someone like me, it's not important that I keep it. I have a job. I'll tell you a different way to go about doing it. You do it at work. You know? And then your job. And you'll hear about those guys. Like, I remember, what was this one in the Buddhist book? What was it called? I think his name was like Nan or some shit like that. He's supposed to be like named after the mountain closest to him. And he's just a farmer. And what happens is once a person in a particular school has reached a certain point, they might send that guy to meet the farmer. You know? They'll be like, all right, you've learned all this, now you gotta meet this guy. And they'll come up to the farmer, and this motherfucker's just working hard, and this guy will ask him 1,000,001 intellectual questions. And, you know, one of his answers will be something like, I bought this sickle for 60 cents. You know? Pretty cool. All right. I hope y'all have a great day. I'm going to try to. I already got high, so it's already starting good. Now we're going to see what the rest of the day brings. I'm not sure if there's a Monday or Sunday. Man, time flies in this area. Hard to pay attention to time, you know? Because it can take so many different shapes. Some moments are long, some moments are short. The whole thing's never really continuous. You know? Like, pretty discontinuous most of the times. You know? Heck, I've had moments that just freeze. Next thing I know, I'm in another room. He's like, man, that fucking ox appears from time to time, doesn't it? I just freeze when it happens. The mind just freezes right there. And the ox does its thing, and then I come right back. Fucking ox. Man. Yeah, I got no idea what I'm looking at. But it signals to that fucking ox I'm looking. Alright. Have a good one. Peace.